Hey YouTube, this is MindTech. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you the ultimate solution to recording video podcasts and other things that require multiple different video sources to be placed together. Using software like Zoom, Teams, or Hangouts can be nice and convenient, but it also has a lot of limitations because you can't control their individual video feeds, you can't control their individual audio, which can lend to something being low quality and ultimately not looking professional. Using this service called OBS Ninja allows you to plug in all of their video feeds individually and also quickly capture group scenes without having to create any accounts, without having to install any software. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to get that set up and configured. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. So the first thing you have to do to get this working is head on over to the link obs.ninja, and then what you have to do is press on the button create a room. And think of this room like a Zoom or a Teams meeting where people have a link and they can join into this. I recommend that you create this room on the computer that you're going to be live streaming or recording with. You're going to be called the director in this situation. Here you can give your room a name. I do recommend that you assign a password to this to ensure that only people that you want in the feed can be in the feed. I recommend that you set the preferred video codec to H.264. Now the things that we have to focus on are these two links, invite a guest and capture a group scene. So what I'm first going to do is go to the capture a group scene and then click on customize. And here I want to enable pro audio just to make sure that we're getting the full audio out of the audio feeds coming in. And I'm also going to enable unlock video bitrate. That's also going to ensure that we have the highest quality video that is pushing directly into our live stream feed. Then we can copy the link. You don't want to copy the link first because when we enable those different options, that change the URL. I'm going to go into OBS and I'm going to add in a browser source. For the URL, I'm going to paste that link, and I'm also going to set the width and height to the resolution that I want the live stream to be. I'm also going to enable it to use a custom frame rate. That does not mean that you're going to have 60 FPS, but that just means that if it has the ability to be at 60 FPS, it will conform to that frame rate. And I'm also going to enable control audio via OBS. This means that for all the participants, you're going to be able to lower that volume or disable that volume in stream. Now if I click on OK, right now I don't see anything in OBS, and that's because we haven't added any guests. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this invite link and send it out to all the guests that I want added into my video podcast. And now this is what the guests that you're joining to your stream are going to have to do. They have to join the room with their camera, and they have to allow permissions for their devices to access the camera. And they can enter in OBS Ninja on any cell phone that has a camera and a web browser, any computer that has a camera or web browser, so on and so forth. It is open source and it is 100% free. It is also peer-to-peer software, meaning that you're not uploading the video feeds to a server. In fact, you're bringing the video feed directly from your guest to your private link in OBS. After your guests configure all the different audio video devices that they have to press the start button. And if you look on the link that I've set up here, you can see the guest's video feed. You might be like, oh man, it's kind of laggy. Well, if you press this third button here, that's going to show you the full resolution and frame rate view. And you can also disable their video if it's using up too many resources. You can blind the guest, meaning that they're not going to be able to see the video feed of all the other guests, and you can also deafen them. Let's see if you're saying something confidential. So now if I look over to OBS, I can view this guest's video feed directly in there. Before I add another guest, I'm going to show you how the director's video is going to work. So right now I have enabled my camera here by going into the gear icon down at the bottom. You can select any of your camera devices, and you can also select the microphone you want to use. Now all the guest can see is my camera. Since I'm using OBS virtual camera, that's why it doesn't show any video. The guest should be able to both view and hear you. If I undeafen the guest, you can also hear my audio feed. And now if I look in OBS, since I made the guest a performer, now I can see both this video feed and the video feed of the other person that I've added in. I'm going to add in one other iPad as the separate guest. So again, I'm going to enter in the same link. And then once I go and start my video, now I can view the director's video on both guest devices. I can see both videos here in my preview, and also I can view both video previews in OBS. This is just one browser browser feed. So I can move this around, but I can't control any of the video feeds of the other guests. This is already superior to something like Zoom or Teams. You're going to have a bunch of overlays, watermarks, so on and so forth. If you just want the video in, you just want a drag and drop solution where all you have to do is add in the browser, you can really stop right here. But if you're like me and you want to enable some more advanced options, you can actually go and delete this browser source that we added in with the main control room, and then go back to OBS Ninja and then scroll down to where you see all the guest links, and then down at the bottom click on copy solo link. And what this is going to do is it's going to take both the video and the audio of individual guests and allow you to control that independently with your live streaming software. So if I add in another browser source, make sure to enable again control audio via OBS. Now I can see the video from this first guest iPad. Copy solo link of guest 2. Now I can see the video feed from the second iPad that I added in. And I think what I'm going to do is make the video feed of the second iPad into something like a face cam. And I'm going to go and switch this on over to the back camera. And as you can see, both of these guests can be controlled independently. One problem that you might run into if you're trying to make a professional video podcast is that everybody has different microphone types and not all of them are going to sound the same. So one option that you have with a setup like this is that you can independently go into the audio feeds and apply both video and audio filters. I'm going to apply a color correction and just make it something noticeable. And also I can add different audio filters, maybe increase the gain, add in a compressor. Also, I can control the audio feeds of both of these guests, so this can make your live stream sound a lot better. There are a few other interesting features that you can use on the control panel to control what the outputted scene is going to look like. The first thing you can do is choose to highlight guests. If one person is giving a monologue, you can choose to highlight them. So if I press that button for my guest on the iPad right here, you can see that now all the output is that guest, and you just can toggle that right there. And I can do the same for my host video, which is right here. You can also choose to blind the guest so that they don't view any of the other video feeds in the meeting. If I press that button here, the guest has a message that says that the director has disabled your vision. I can also go and press the mute button. They'll also see a little message that says that the director has muted you. So I have enabled this director as a participant in the meeting, and that gives some more options as to how we can control the video feed of the director. The first thing I can do is press this record button, which will actually go and create a local file of the video that I have shared out. You can see a file has automatically been downloaded. I can go and preview that there. You can also go and press this button to copy the solo view link so that you don't have to go and try to share, let's say, your webcam device with both OBS and VDO Ninja. If you look at the bottom here of the control room, there are a few more options when you are a performer too. There is obviously a mute option. You can also go and disable or enable your video device right from here. You can see that it instantly disables for both the guest and the live stream there. You can also go and share your screen or a tab with Google Chrome's built-in interface here. Pretty quickly you can see that the screen is shared out to the live stream and it automatically recomposes all the scenes. Now one last thing to quickly go over, there are some things that make this similar to a Zoom, Google Hangouts, or a Teams meeting. I can message the room here, and that message will be updated on all of the guests' feeds. I can also individually message guests, and that message will appear on the guests' web pages also. And then let's say somebody doesn't want to leave or they're being distracting or rude, I can also hang up on them directly, hung up on this iPad, and that will remove them from OBS Ninja, and also their video feed here will also be removed. Now one last thing that I forgot to actually go over when I showed you the setup of this is that you can customize the guest invite links. Some options that I recommend you enable is the Pro Audio mode, the 1080p 60 video feed, and also disable the option where it says only see the director's feed. Because right now, if you look at the devices, all you can see is the director's video, but your guests might want to be able to view their video feed just to make sure everything looks nice. The link has slightly changed, but the video is still updating for the guest. So now if I go back to my guest 2, I'm going to go and modify that link, refresh that. The guest 2 has automatically been kicked out because I'm no longer on that link. And on this iPad, I can view the video feed of all 3 guests, just like the director can. Alright, so before I end off, I would like to emphasize some of the reasons why I believe using OBS Ninja specifically to record group podcasts, why I believe it's superior to using this over something like Discord, Zoom, or other applications like that. Now, it's really all about flexibility and it's about quality. Now, one thing I emphasized earlier is that you can customize basically every option regarding the video capture for the guests. Most importantly, you can enable lossless audio and you can also enable 1080p 60 FPS video, which is something that just is not an option at all in an application like Zoom. In fact, there's a lot of different options inside of Zoom that try to suppress the audio quality of users by adding certain noise suppression filters. They suppress the video quality by doing certain things with compression based on the internet connection of the users. OBS Ninja just pushes out the full quality it possibly can. Oh, this is a test of recording on Zoom. As you can see, there is an overlay, and I really don't have a lot of control over what scene or what video I want the viewers to be seeing. Another thing is its integration with OBS Studio or any other application similar to that. So right now I have a scene set up where I have the full capture. This is something that you'd see in an application like Zoom. Mind you, it would automatically switch to the audio of the person that was speaking, and you wouldn't have control over that in post. Although this is a clean feed, I can't really choose which person is speaking without having to use more complicated measures. So by splitting it out into a separate scene, that gives me a lot more flexibility. I can go and switch to the director's feed here, guest 1 and guest 2. I can go and crop it, I can change the size of it, and what's most important for me is that I can go and change the audio levels right here. Plus, I can even go and open up another instance of OBS and have it go and record only one of those solo links, and then later on in post, I can go and switch between the cameras or switch to something like the full group scene whenever I want. So here's an example of something I might do. So in this one OBS scene, I have 2 different speakers that I've chosen, and I've kind of changed the sizes of the webcams to kind of conform to an art style, and I might want to later go into Photoshop and create a transparent overlay and integrate my own brand artwork with that to kind of fit the vibe of all the different videos that I produce. And in this scene, I have 2 other speakers that I've chosen, and then if I want to, I can go and switch back to the scene where I have all the speakers at once, and that's what I really like about this. It gives me that flexibility, and plus it allows me to use an application that I'm familiar with. It's all about having that creative control over something like a video podcast without being forced to conform to this specific form of video. This is also incredibly useful for independent productions like what I do with YouTube. I have the perfect multicam setup, and it's all linked through a web browser right into my MacBook right here. It doesn't take up any USB ports or anything like that. It's like I'm in a television studio. And I think that's what makes VDO Ninja so incredibly powerful. And the last thing that I like to address is you might feel a bit intimidated with VDO Ninja, and you might think that less tech-savvy users might not be able to integrate their cameras, and it might be easier just to use Zoom because there's one link. Well, there's also just one link for VDO Ninja. It's very easy to set up from your perspective. All you have to do is type VDO.Ninja into a web browser and click on Create a Group Scene. And they can access that from any device or any browser at all without having to know how to install software or set up cameras, because VDO Ninja automatically detects built-in webcams. But for those more tech-savvy users, they can have that granular control over what camera device, what audio device they want to use, so on and so forth. Honestly, a fantastic application. I do honestly recommend you go and integrate VDO Ninja into your video productions. It has saved me a lot of time, and I think that it has a lot of really cool options.